faith turns saints into sinners. I want you to walk this philosophical road with me for just a moment. Now, I know this statement that I just made may seem like an oxymoron. How can faith in a God turn saints into sinners? Well, if you consider man, when you consider man in his isolated form, man in his more prehistory form, man lived more isolated than we live today. And in that isolation, man developed community. And within that community, they lived in concert with nature, not taking too much, only taking what was needed. Basic survival was the main thought process of man. When with man being a social group, that social group survived and thrived based on the benefiting of each person to the group. Some African tribes call this Ubuntu, where the greatness of the greater good of the all was more important than the individual. This is a mentality that you can find in prehistoric civilizations all over the world. But when that social group and their ability to survive becomes threatened, man has a tendency to put his faith in some deity to promise them success in order to maintain their level of security of being able to survive. You see, when you look at most incursions of different people groups meeting one another, oftentimes war breaks out, conflict arises. And this conflict is often preceded by their belief in their individual gods. And as they believe in their individual gods, they believe that their God is allowing them to be able to conquer the other people for their base survival. This is something that you can find in almost every religious text. When you look at the Bible, the children of Israel were supposedly coming out of Egypt. And in coming out of Egypt, they were promised this land. But within this land, there lived Canaanite people of different tribes. But because their survival was at play, they were told by their God that he would defeat them for them, that they would have success over them, and that they were to kill every man, woman, and child in most cases, a complete genocide. As a matter of fact, in the story of Joshua going into Jericho, they were told to kill every man, woman, and child, kill every animal, and burn the city down. And the same thing was repeated, supposedly, in the city of Ai. When it came to them taking their inheritance, the Danites couldn't quite conquer and genocide the Canaanites who were already living there. So instead, they were told to make them into their slaves. So of this foreign nation, as it says in Leviticus 25, verses 44 through 47, of the foreign nations, the foreigners who live amongst you, and the foreign nations around you, you are to buy your male and female slaves and pass them down as property to the next generation, to your sons. So out of a peaceful group of people living isolated from everyone else, when survival is threatened by other people, it is their faith in their God that commits them to perpetrating atrocities. When you look at faiths like Islam, as long as everybody is in alignment with worshiping Allah, it is perfectly fine. We live in harmony. But at the moment that that is threatened and the infidels are becoming more prevalent within their society, now atrocities are allowed. So their faith is causing them to commit atrocities towards other people. We see this with almost every religion that has ever come about, is that they will place their faith in a God that God tells them to destroy another people. They put their faith in a God that God tells them to enslave another people. Even within the community, because you're thinking, well, there are atrocities that happen within the community. Well, yes, even at that level, we still see the same thing happening. The faith in a God looks at a woman and says that she is the weaker vessel compared to the man simply based on body strength. And so since she is physically weaker than the man, then faith in a religion says that the woman was deceived and therefore she must be glorified by her husband or her father. That she must cover her head, that she cannot have the authority over a man, and that she should maintain silence within the churches and shall not teach a man. That type of mentality allowed for the selling of daughters to a man as a wife. That also allowed for women who were slaves to be given to husbands by their mistress to be slave wives as well. So the woman becomes a lower caste and not looked upon equally because of faith. Whereas you might have had a good person, a good man, who viewed everyone, who could have viewed everyone as equal, but then decides that based on his faith, that women are weaker, women are property, women are only good for birthing. A man can gain forgiveness, according to the Bible, just by submitting to God. Yet, according to the Bible in the New Testament, as written, that's supposedly written by Paul, the portion, and the Old Testament, a woman is also has to go through the pains of childbirth to be redeemed to this God. So the woman has an extra to go, because who was first deceived in the garden? Eve was, according to this story. So even within the community, the woman, daughters are looked upon as a lower group of people subjugated by man, whereas somebody could have been a saint towards those women. Now they are a sinner towards those women. And we can see many cases throughout history, as well as in our world today, where faith in a belief will allow for you to excuse a pastor, a priest who molests children, who commit murders, who commit other atrocities. Your belief and your faith in a church can allow them to take the money from the people and leaving them poor and desperate, while the leader lives a life of luxury and everybody else is struggling to get there. Because of their faith, they wind up doing things that they wouldn't normally do. Instead of striving to take care of your family, feed your faith allows you to sit and pray and hope and wish that something happens where you'll be able to better take care of your family. So it takes the faith that makes you into a sinner. And one of the bigger thoughts that I want you to really think about this now. According to many people's faith in America, especially, and I'm going to use America as the primary thought process on this one, we have a battle between a woman's right to have an abortion. This is not me stating a for nor against abortion. It is up to each individual person to make their own moral decision upon that. But in our society, as a person who does not have faith in any of these religions, I leave it to the individual to check their own moral standards as to whether or not it is something that is moral or immoral. But based on faith, a person will stand on one side and say that abortion is an immoral act. It is a sin, and you should not commit an abortion because the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." But yet the Bible also says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness," meaning that thou shalt not lie. So when a parent tells their children about Santa Claus, the parent is lying. When a parent tells their children about the tooth fairy, about the Easter bunny, the parent is lying, knowingly lying. When a man or a woman is out somewhere and they come back and they tell their spouse that they were somewhere else, they're lying. This also is a sin. So where is your morality when it comes to lying? You see, your faith will allow you to be an accepted liar, to accept lies, and therefore make you into a sinner as well. So I really want to hear you guys' thoughts about that. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.